man, from the time I was 14 on, there was no days off.
So it sounds like it's a very like militant beginning. Like what are some mistakes maybe that you made when if you look back now where you're like, man, I wish I didn't do some of that because I'm banged up or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything like that you kind of look back on?
I don't. I always tell people, man, our bodies are crazy. So, I grew up in a real Christian family. They weren't just talking it, they were actually living it. So there wasn't drinking, there wasn't partying. And my dad was always the guy that said, hey, listen, watch your friends, watch all the stuff they do, and then if you like the consequences or the stuff that follows, and you go do that too. But let other people make the mistakes for you. So I would just watch. And so my boys would go out and get drunk and do their stuff, and then they'd end up getting in trouble or get in a car accident, whatever. I just always saw it and kind of watched and learned instead of listened and learned, you know what I mean? And so
I had two older brothers that did that for me.
Yeah.
They made all the mistakes. I just sat back and everyone's like, you're so quiet, you're so quiet.
Right.
And so for years and years, I just sat back and watched them like, I'm not going to go that route. That seems more challenging than just doing the right thing.
Absolutely. And so listen, we all have like regrets. I've got plenty of them. But in the strength world, like, my dad and I, we just did the best we could. We were in an old, nasty, sweaty garage with this like 10-inch wide bench and an old squat rack and rusty dumbbells and the old school weights that had the little hole that you had the collar that you had to like ring around,
like from Sears or whatever.
Exactly. They were concrete.
Every time you rack the weight, you got to make sure you don't throw it over the whole entire bench and rip your rotator cuff out.
But it was by the time I was 15, the bench was like scarring my back because it was so narrow. But no, listen, we trained hard and fast. My dad was big on sports being much more of a mental game than a physical game. So every workout was a mental challenge of, are you going to push out or are you going to be a man?
So he trained you?
Oh, absolutely.
Did he do stuff with you?
He still does. He's 67 and he'll still take those 50-pound dumbbells and rep out 50 reps with them on bench. And
were there times where you because at 13, your emotions can be, you sometimes act like a little kid.
Yeah.
Were you sometimes
not around Dad?
Yeah, okay.
I was still scared of him. It was more like, yes, sir, do what I'm told to do. I think when I was, by the time I was 17, he had me benching like 400 pounds plus, and then so going into my senior year, I didn't get full of myself, but I was like, I started thinking that, well, maybe Dad's way is tapped out. And the truth is he actually helped me catch up with other people when I didn't get much stronger. I got a little faster just because my genetic code is what it is, but when I got into college, any downtime, I'd go back to Dad's workouts. In the pros, any downtimes, I'd go back to Dad's workout. And people from Randy Moss to other high school athletes, whoever came and trained with me, they wanted no part of my weight workout routines, because it was always overtrained. Every day was a power day. Every day was a speed day.
Well,
every day was a strength day.
Overtraining to them for sure because they're not conditioned for it.
Yeah, well, in the game of football, I mean, who for 60 minutes go out and beat someone head in? You have to be explosively, powerfully strong every snap. So there's some snap where I've got to sprint, and then somewhere in that snap I've got to manhandle someone, but then I've got to be conditioned in that because it's going to be 60 minutes long. So my thought was, if you're not training that way every day, how do you ever? The war of attrition naturally beats down the weaker
You don't have
athlete.
time to tell the opponent, hey, man, can you just calm down for a second because I feel like I'm getting overworked. I'm getting overtaxed.
I have had some linebackers in my 10 years like, hey, man, watch out, man. I hurt my shoulder. Chill out. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And then I would destroy that shoulder the next play. Were you the guy that everyone hated to go against in practice? Were you that guy? I think through high school and college, yeah. In college, one of my best friends, we were the only ones that went against each other. He got drafted by the 49ers, ended up having a neck injury.
That one guy on the team that's always going 120%.
Absolutely.
Like, Coach says half speed, and then you go to lock horns with him, and he just drills the shit out of you, and you're like, what happened to half speed?
I just never wanted to get beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the pros, man, there's just so many elite athletes. Right. I'm just always the guy from whistle to whistle. You do whatever you want. But the cheap stuff after when I've manhandled you, don't go push me in the back. Let's not start that nonsense. And so you always got those weekend warriors or those like scout team All-American guys that are trying to make a name for themselves. And there was always one warning shot every NFL training camp that I'm like, let that happen one more time and watch what happens.
Is there, you've been doing this whole thing for a very long time, and then you transition from being an NFL football player and probably pouring your heart and soul and your training and everything that you do, based on getting to the NFL.
Yeah.
And then you have the longevity. You played for 9 or 10 years or something?
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, so you built yourself up for all that, and then so how has your training changed now from when you were playing football? Has it changed at all?
Yeah, it's funny. So the first 4 or 5 years, it was more not the CrossFit lifting, but it was just more of that tempo. So when I got done playing, I've got 2 girls, wanted to stay in shape. I love playing basketball. I was always on the trampoline with them, coaching their soccer teams and basketball teams. And so I stayed active because it's kind of my release every day.
Right.
Had a home gym, and it was nice. I had a power rack. I had everything from power cleans in there to kettlebells, battle ropes. I mean, you name it, I had everything in there. Last year, the NFL Network asked me to do this 225 bench press thing. Yeah. Your buddy, now my buddy, Michael Hearn, sees it on Twitter.
Mike O'Tren, which is his official name.
Reaches out to me and says, "Hey, come train with me." Little did I know, it was like he invites people in all the time to try to hurt them, embarrass them, and then move them on their way. Well, after one leg day, we kind of became best friends, and a year later, I've been working out with him, and some of the stuff has changed. The school of thought on speed versus power movements.
Gotcha.
Listen, Mike's he's brilliant in his own right, in the way he has trained and the longevity he's kind of showing the world how to go about.
I don't think he's ever had one injury.
It's nuts.
He's 46.
I think he's 48, but he might be like 72. We're not really sure.
Yeah, with all the makeup, who can tell?
Who can look? You know what
I mean? Who can figure it all out? Your training, so it just changed a little bit, but I think I also, in addition to seeing you do 225 I saw you do it for 37 reps one year.
Yeah.
And then the next year you did it for 45 reps.
Yeah.
A question we get asked all the time is, how do I improve my 225 bench? Anything you did in particular, or
it's
just
funny.
Got stronger?
I did. Mike completely took me off the flat bench. I'm telling you, I've probably flat benched 5 times in the last year. From when I did 37 reps.
Right.
And truth be told, when I did the 37, the network asked me to do that about a week before. And so I had been working out and staying in shape. When I went to the NFL,
it's amazing. You can just pop that off at any time.
And it was, I had stayed in shape. I worked out 5-6 days a week, and I was highly active, but I wasn't throwing on weight anywhere like you do, where Mike does on a daily basis. That just wasn't my world, and I didn't even know how to do that safely at the time. So I had stayed in good shape, and then this year, obviously, I knew that was coming up, and so I prepped for that. Right. But Mike took me off the flat, and we did all inclines, so that natural strength that is more of what I call a converted strength. Athletes, this is much more normal. We don't ever really get to do this in any sport,
right.
And I think just the shoulder strength, the back strength, and then changing up the way we taxed the system almost every day for a year just naturally got me stronger.
The range of motion is a lot greater on an incline bench, and you can't get yourself in as good of a position.
True.
You flat bench, you can get your shoulders in a good spot. Incline bench is very difficult, and then the incline bench tends to really hammer your triceps really hard because that last little bit's always so hard to lock out. So I can see how it could benefit.
Well, and I never worked arms a day in my life before I met Mike, and so when I got in there, I was still a 450 pound bencher, and I'd squat 550 or 600, whatever, but I had no arms, and so they'd bust my balls all day long about no buys, no tries. And so when we first started doing that, it was a hard conversion for me.
I was doing 10 or 12 sets of biceps and triceps, and you've never done any.
None, you know what I mean? And so, and just even you obviously you get reverse pull-ups and your pull-ups and your lat pull-downs, you get biceps, but it's never a concentration. And then, obviously in football we do dumbbell bench and we do close grip bench, but it's never an isolated thing that's going to really focus and build your triceps. So even that arm work over the last year with Mike, once a week you're doing 20 sets of triceps. And so, the conditioning aspect of that for that 225 is a lot of it, and so for me, it's a lot of guys struggle in the power range. Right. I've always struggled here to here, so I know that helps some, but just having a year messing around with guys like yourself every day, just the mental switch that gets you going, and it's got a lot better over the course of the year.
I think I've seen you also run a 40-yard dash. I don't know how long ago that was, but you ran pretty good, and I think you ran it in slacks and stuff too, right?
Last year we did the 225, and I ran a 4.72 or 4.71 or something like that on concrete. I've always been fast. My NFL combine, I was 252 and ran 4.56, 4.54.
Nice.
My pro day, I dropped a few pounds, ran 4.46, 4.42.
Did that help you get looked at more?
Yeah, I was drafted as high. I was the first fullback drafted because of the athleticism that came with me. I wasn't just a fullback. I could do a lot of different stuff, and so.
What can you run now? Any idea?
A lot faster than last year.
Yeah.
I'd put a 4.6 down on grass, but I've trained for it. Like I've been running a lot this year. The diet stuff that I never knew about, and that's where you know Mike better than I do.
Yeah.
Like his idea of a cheat meal is grapes and strawberries, and so like I'm a donut guy, So I give Mike like 5 days a week to like, hey, I'll do what you tell me to do. But just even the aspect of cleaning up my system, getting all those inflammatory foods out of my system, just how much my flexibility has increased in a year. And then how much better I feel. And so, Mike never runs or jumps, but like if anyone comes to our workouts,
He could though.
Yeah, no, he should. You know what I mean? And I'm always messing with him. But I always, like you'll see a squat and they rest. I go do my plyometric jumps. We squat. I go do my stretching and stuff. So it's I've blended the two worlds, but he's proven to me that there doesn't need to be Father Time's going to beat us all eventually.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be as early as what people think.
Right. He started this mission at 8 years old. 30 years later, he's still doing it. I think the take-home message here is, the things that you do as a kid and the sports that you love as a kid, you should still be able to do them. Maybe you can't do them at the same level and the same intensity as you always could, but he's still running the same 40, and he's retired. He doesn't necessarily need to, but he likes that kind of conditioning. It's going to make him healthier. It's going to make him stronger. They say rest and recovery for a warrior is going to work. This guy's a true warrior. Strength is never weakness. See y'all later.